Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Squid Game is bad. I'm gonna get roasted for this. But I don't even know why. Okay, of course not the entire show is bad. There were just a few key elements that really bothered me. Now, I'm definitely not a film critic and also not a person who generally hates everything new that comes out. Actually, quite the opposite. I'm very easy to please and I also almost watched every film coming out between 2017 and now. I have a platinum membership card at my local cinema. That's a status that's not even advertised on their website. The highest you can go there is gold. Why am I flexing with my cinema membership card? What I want to say is I have a lot of experience when it comes to how the crowd reacts to something new that comes out, and it's generally most often not good. After almost every movie I watched in the cinema, all of the viewers suddenly became film critics and started shitting on the movies. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm very easy to please, and that doesn't mean that I'm amazed by every film that comes out. There are a few diamonds here and there, like for example a few weeks ago Malignant came out by James Wan. I love that one. What I want to say is there are just a few ones that really stuck in my head, but the others are just really good evening experiences. Not more, not less, but I'm generally happy with almost every film that I watch. Then when I went to professional school to become a media designer, a few of the people there were, as I expected, even worse. They didn't just hate everything new that came out, but also were those kind of people. I prefer the classics back in the 1950s. Those were some good films. Back when they shot on film, of course. Nowadays everything looks just way too polished, and don't even get me started with the CGI. Back then they did everything for real. Stop it. I love the new stuff. 8K cameras are amazing, CGI is a great tool. Old films also have their charm, but why do you always have to hate on the new stuff just because? Anyways, back to the topic. I'm not that kind of person, just to make this clear, but when it comes to Squid Game, I have three major problems: the characters, the dialogue, and the inspirations the director took. Now first off, there is of course good stuff in the show. I want to go over this first. Last disclaimer, major spoilers are about to happen, so if you don't want to get spoiled, turn the video off. If you don't care, or if you have watched it already, you're welcome to stay with me. Okay, let's go. The sets are amazing, I love the soundtrack and the score and everything. The cast was cool, but more on that later. At the end of episode 2, the matching cuts are pretty cool when they all enter the cars to go back to the game, just as an example. Also, it's very cool that they all get out at the first road. I thought for sure they will be stuck in the facility, but no, they actually got out, and then they showed very well why every character decides to go back in, because their situations in the outside world are just too bad. The beginning of episode 3 with the boats and the many vans is pretty nice. The shot of all the bats is amazing. The 456 real people on set and the whole style of the show is just very well crafted. The show has good stuff, really. The title is just really provocative. But let's start with the first thing that I didn't like: the characters. I just told you I liked them, but hear me out. Right from the beginning, basically until the very end, I had almost no empathy with any character of the show, besides maybe the old man who's a bit crazy but seems nice. Well, until the end, of course. Ellie, he's naive but seems to be a good person, and the policeman, who we don't see that much of in the beginning. But anyone else is just unsympathetic and bad persons. The main character, who has a gambling addiction, that doesn't quite make him a bad person because it's an illness and has to be treated, but the way he interacts with his mom and his daughter and everything, I just don't like him in the beginning, and also not that much during the runtime. It's just at the end where you kind of get to like him. I wanted to avoid saying the names because I don't want to pronounce them wrong, but Se Byuk, who is a thief who stole from Ji-hun, which is of course bad. I know she became a fan favorite and she is meant to be a likable character, and how she cares about her family also makes her kind of a good person, but this whole "I'm so secretive and I don't trust anyone, and my hair is in front of my face so you don't see me and I talk very slowly and deeply and not much" aesthetic didn't really do it for me. Like, it was kinda cool, but didn't really make me connect with the character. I'm talking about the beginning, of course. At the end it was very different. Her death was very tragic. I know you don't have to connect with a character in the first episodes, but it didn't really do it for me until like half the show was over. Next we have our main character, Ji-hun's best friend, Sang-woo, who is obviously a fraud, and you already get a feeling that he will reveal his bad side very soon. Of course, we don't even need to talk about Dok-soo and this crazy lady, Han Min-yoo. I like Ju Young? I don't know how it's pronounced anymore. This girl, she was cool, but of course way too late in the show, and then she instantly dies. Heroic and nice, but she's gone, so that leaves us with no likable main characters. Then again, maybe that was done on purpose to show the struggles of the characters and establish that no one is perfect and that you can connect with them. But for me, it did quite the opposite. I didn't really care about any of the characters. If they make it through the next game or not, so what, who cares? So let's get to the next thing that really ruined a part of the show for me, which kinda isn't the fault of the showmakers, but also kinda is. the dialogue. We watched the show in German and I'm sure the emotions and everything were delivered way more in the original language, which is of course Korean, and that the translation destroyed a lot of that. I tried to watch everything in the original language if I understand it, which is most often English, but I don't understand Korean, so we had to watch it in a language didn't understand, which was in this case German and not English, because English wasn't the native language of the film, so we could choose between German and English. So we decided on watching it in German. Now, even though Germany is known to have the best synchronization in, I don't know, the world, because they don't just focus on translating the language and the sense of the conversations, but also make it match with the lip synchronization so that it looks like it's original, you know what I mean? Not just that it's spoken over in a perfect translation, but also that it matches so that the flow of the show or the film isn't ruined. I'm sure other countries and studios do this as well, but I just heard from a lot of people in Germany on the internet, but even from Native American speakers that learned German and then watched an English film translated to German, that Germany just does it very well. I don't know, I just have to take their word for it because I just speak English and German, so I can't prove if a Korean film in German is better than when it's translated into English, because I don't speak Korean, so I just take their word for it. Anyways, now you could argue just watch it in Korean with subtitles. But no, that's just too much work. When it comes to this show, a lot of English-speaking watchers already complained about the synchronization, and I also looked into a few English scenes and they were pretty bad and not matching at all. Again, I watched it in German and the synchronization was also terrible. And now we come to the part where I say that the dialogue is bad and not just the synchronization. Some of these conversations are translated and lack emotion due to it not matching. But when it comes to the content of these conversations, they also must have been this bad in the original language. Here are a few examples. Season 1 episode 2 at around 26 minutes and 37 seconds. I just now watched the English version of it and it was way better, but in the German one it was so poor. When they talk about the health insurance and Ji-hoon thinks they will cover the expenses, his mom says, "What? Insurance? Don't you remember? You cancelled the health insurance and already used up the severance payment." This is an example of lazy storytelling and scriptwriting. Instead of actually showing something or at least telling something in a clever way, they let the characters talk about it to tell it to the audience. And of course that's not something that you can't ever do. Of course in real life you would also do that, but this show just did it so poorly sometimes, and especially on this occasion, it seemed so forced and unlikely to talk like that in real life. You just wouldn't never talk like that in a situation like this. Maybe that was a bad example, but a better one happens just a few seconds after. Also in season 1 episode 2 at around 27 minutes and 49 seconds, when the policeman is in the car on the phone with his mom. Again, I just watched the English version and it actually was way better executed than in the German version. Now I'm questioning if I should even make this video. Now the English subtitles actually don't match with the English voiceover. That's kinda strange. Anyways, in the English version he says, "I'm a police officer. Have you forgotten that?" In the English voiceover it reads, "I'm a police officer, remember?" Which is way better than what he says in the German version of the show. There he says, "I'll be calling all of his acquaintances in the near future. If I still can't reach him, I'll report him missing tomorrow. Because I'm a police officer myself, as you know." This "as you know" is so poor in the German version, and all of these dramatic pauses make it so awkward. So what happens here, at least in the German version, is that instead of just actually showing that he's a police officer, which could have easily been done with, I don't know, introducing him at a crime scene or in a police building, or him having police lights on his car, or even a flashback where he's on a police operation. But no, what they do is him on the phone telling his mother the obvious, that he's a police officer, which his mom should actually know about her son. Again, in the English version that I just skipped through for the video, it's way better because he kind of playfully says that with a little laugh, "Don't you remember, I'm a police officer?" In the German version, it's stating the obvious, not to tell his mom, but to tell the audience, as it seems. Then something that is just weird happens. Same episode, episode 2, at around 40 minutes and 45 seconds, when Ali gives the money to his wife to buy tickets for a flight and leave. Here he speaks his native language both in the English and German version, so we just have subtitles. Here he just says, "I love you and our child," which is a weird thing to say because I guess every father would call his child by his name and not name it child, so that was kind of a weird moment. When I hear myself talking, it sounds like I'm so nitpicking and shitting on these little things, but I just want to say that these little things made the dialogue of the show so weird and unrelatable in my opinion. Again, I'm sure it wasn't that way in the original version, at least to some extent. At around 50 minutes and 47 seconds in episode 2, Ji-hoon's ex-wife says, "Get out, the father of the kids will be home soon," when she's talking about her new husband, who is not the father of at least the girl, because Ji-hoon is the father. Why would you say the father of the kids if it's not like this, just to awkwardly provoke him? Again, no one would talk like this. Now I'm just gonna quickly go over a few more examples not just dialogue but also other examples. If you already have enough examples, skip to that timestamp, but if you want more examples, stay right where you are. Episode 3, 20 minutes and 48 seconds. The scene where Han Min-yu fakes her constipation toilet problems is just so over the top, at least in the German and English translation. Episode 3, 33 minutes and 25 seconds, right before the sugar thing game when they decide on which shape to take, is just another example of stating the obvious. When Ji-hoon finds out, that means we are left with the star and the umbrella. Yeah, everyone can see that. Then when they all try to break their shape out of the sugar thing, the guards watch every single step they're doing to immediately shoot the contestants if they break the shapes, but Han Min-yu manages to hide under the slide, use a lighter to cheat, and then even manages to pass it on to Deok-soo to help him out. Yeah, that kind of seems unlikely. This one is not about dialogue, but more like common sense, I guess. Episode 4, 5 minutes and 18 seconds. When number 271 complains about Deok-soo stealing the food from the others, he gets beaten to death. This is again so over the top. He gets hit, yes, then he gets kicked a few times, but you wouldn't instantly die from it, at least in a film, right? I mean, you could die from inner bleeding, but it's just so sudden. Anyways, but then Ji-hoon complains, someone died here, don't you hear? A human died, a man just died. We can't just kill someone like this. Like, it is something special, like they aren't constantly killing people in this crazy world. It's so surprising to see someone die when you just watch 200 people die. Like, it's something out of the ordinary. Also, one thing I want to note, in episode 4 at 42 minutes and 18 seconds, how did they manage to get this message into the yellow part of a boiled egg? Like, for real, can someone explain it to me? Is there a way to do it? If there is one, please let me know down in the comments. I would really like to know. But like, I mean, in real life and not in the film, where you can of course just make a cut and place it in there or do it with CGI or I don't know. I mean, how could you sneak a message into the yellow part of a boiled egg in real life? Episode 5, 40 minutes and 39 seconds. Ali hands his corn to Sang-woo. In the English version, Ali says, have this, I saved this earlier to give it to you. When Sang-woo asks why, Ali answers, because you saved my life. Makes sense. In the German version he says, of course in German, but I translated the German version to English, here, eat it. I just didn't eat it, but instead saved it because I wanted to give it to you. Then Sang-woo repeats, why don't you eat it yourself and give it to me? It's like they constantly have to comment on everything they do and state the obvious so unnecessarily. Episode 5, 21 minutes and 20 seconds, they talk about someone waking up during the organ stealing instead of showing it. In episode 6 at around 15 minutes and 11 seconds, when Ji-hoon gets the sack with marbles, he really says, marbles, sir, I guess the next game could be a marble game. You don't say, Captain Obvious. Then the VIPs arrive in the beginning of episode 7 and I really gotta say, I was waiting the entire time for rich white people to appear. First I was expecting the workers to be white people, then I was expecting the frontman to be a rich white person, but then the VIPs came and there we have it, our rich white characters. A lot of people pointed out that their acting is so bad because it was hard for them to find English-speaking actors in Korea, but besides their acting, the 69 joke at 13 minutes was nice at first. I'm surprised they didn't put a 420 joke in it as well, but when the joke gets dragged out for so long and it even gets explained why he chooses 96 after 69 died, it's just way too much. The glass bridge is a cool setup, the whole setting is very cool, but besides that, this game sticks out from all the others because it's hard to believe that this one's a kid's game. It also doesn't involve any skill or special knowledge to beat it, but instead relies purely on luck. We have some more cringe dialogue.
What's that thing? Looks like a bridge of some sort.
I like the looks of it.
Then number 21 asks the woman which step to take next because he can't remember. In the German version he says, please think very carefully, I have to take the right one to survive. I don't think you needed to say that. In the English version on the other hand, he says, try to remember since both our lives depend on getting this next one. Makes way more sense, I think. Now then, Han Min-yu's death is very cool when she takes Deok-soo with her, very dramatic, cool speech before that, and good use of slow-mo. And then we have this shot, which has 1 minute of runtime in slow motion, without a cut, just to show these three actors each getting cuts at the exact spots which are on the cheeks under their left eye. Like, don't get me wrong, it looks cool, but it's just way too long, and it seems like they just wanted to put the slow motion camera they rendered for the death of these two to good use. Yeah, then we have the tragic death of Se-byuk, which is sad, I say that unironically. Music during that is great as well, but it just seems so odd that Ji-hoon all of a sudden has this huge emotional connection to this girl, because he never really got to bond with her. Next we have the end fight Squid Game where it starts to rain, which they self-deprecatingly acknowledge by saying,
Good rain knows the best time to fall.
Okay, we're almost at the end of this rant section, then we come to the inspirations part. In episode 9 at 46 minutes and 30 seconds we have another example of bad pacing when we wait for like 30 seconds and 100 people to leave the train before Ji-hoon comes out. Why? In filmmaking you learn that you have to cut your babies, which means that you have to cut out the shots that you love but that don't serve the story. And of course rules are there to break them, and I also have a lot of beauty shots or shots that don't serve a story, but I leave them in there because I like them. But in Squid Game they even kept the shots when the camera was rolling on accident apparently. And if this is on purpose and a style choice, it's a really weird one. Then at around 48 minutes and 50 seconds we have some cool matching shots at the airport scene. That again ends in a 30-second one-take shot of him entering the plane without anything happening before he takes the phone and calls the Squid Games one more time. Then he turns around, doesn't go on the plane to, I don't know, end the Squid Game, which is supposed to be cool but just makes him look like he's still a bad father, hasn't learned anything, and doesn't go to visit his daughter. Okay, let's put all of that aside and talk about the inspirations that the director and also story writer, which is the same person, has, in my opinion, taken from other shows and films that kind of make Squid Game look like it stole from here and there to merge everything into a new genre. Besides the fact that it's kinda like the Hunger Games, and some people even argued that the Red Suits remembered them of Money Heist, but I think that's a little far-fetched. Il-nam is a rich old man, just like John Kramer from Saw, who suffers from an irreparable brain tumor, just like John Kramer in Saw. He creates a game that tortures people, just like John Kramer in Saw. Now then he even joins his own game to control it from the inside, just like in Saw. And he even says, "I wanna play a game." Just like, you guessed it, the iconic sentence from Saw. Then we have a Star Wars-like reveal from the kind of Darth Vader-like looking frontman who reveals himself as the brother of the policeman. And even better, there are already a lot of theories on the internet that there are a few hints that Il-nam is actually Ji-hoon's father, because his father is never shown in the series. When Ji-hoon wanted to refuse the milk, I guess, Il-nam said that his son used to do the same thing. Then he also talked about him beating his son. And then again in the marble game, they both said that they were living in this kind of part of town at some point in their lives. And that would be a whole nother Star Wars thing, mixed with Saw Wars. So as I said in the beginning, I'm very easy to please, and this show was okay to watch and entertain you for a few evenings, and I can see why it would be successful because there are a few things they did right and at the right time, with Korea being such a boom over the last couple of years with K-pop and everything. I've also been to South Korea, pretty cool, but yeah, I wouldn't have thought that this would become, or will become, or is it now already when this video will come out, I don't know, the most successful show on Netflix ever and the most watched and whatsoever. Nevertheless, I'm excited for season 2. Will the I am your father theory be revealed? What did you think about Squid Game? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it an okay experience like for me? Be sure to let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, and also leave a like if you enjoyed it, or leave a thumbs down if you don't agree, if you think Squid Game is the most epic show to be ever created on this planet. And also subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this. Normally I do kind of not film critique stuff videos on this channel, but more like filmmaking in general, tutorials, behind the scenes and everything, so be sure to subscribe if you want to watch that. And I will hopefully see you in the next video. Goodbye. Oh, you can subscribe right here, and there are more videos right here and right here. Also, did you notice that there was a Squid Game in the Squid Game poster in the background? Details. Anyways, goodbye.